Hey everybody, so we said that we would come on live and answer some of those questions. And if anybody happens to be watching this at the time and wants to pop up a question, I'll go through a few things here and then you can always chime in and ask one too afterwards. This is a little Ask Me Anything section for 40 Plus group. Steve Whittier again, founder of 40 Plus BJJ, and this is my black belt, John Murphy, just off a gold medal at Grappling Industries. And just wanted to run through a few things. So basically what we have so far is questions about injury prevention. That's come up a lot in the group, which is one of the reasons why I started this, to address that, because I certainly probably have more wear and tear based on things that one of those I wish I knew then what I know now. I'd have much less wear and tear if I followed the evolution, the advice that we have now back when I was first starting. So I want to address a few of those questions, common places where people are injured. And then also we had a specific question from James Guy about half guard bottom getting countered with a whizzer or near side underhook. So I just got reminded of that and we'll cover that first. Okay, so here with John, and let's spin around here. Just let me know if we're in frame the whole time. So if I'm in half guard, you know, again, I don't know exactly where the reference point is, James, if you're seeing this one, but I'm assuming you don't have your partner blocked out with some sort of knee shield if he's got a whizzer. I assume it's chest to chest, you've got an underhook in here, and he's starting to put on a whizzer, and he's starting to apply pressure with his shoulder. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is trying to be as early as possible. So again, that placement of your underhook, okay, before I go into counters per se. So if we spin around here real quick, okay, I've got an underhook kind of standard right here, right? So see where that is? My hand's just kind of on John's lat, and he whizzers, and now if John puts pressure down, yeah, it's already starting to compromise me. What will get really bad is if he were to actually feed my elbow, my bottom elbow to that hand, okay, from the underneath side. Yeah, now I'm really pinned, and somebody can just crush you from there. So again, sometimes I'm shooting that really low, okay, like I'm going to start to come up here, okay, to be able to basically kind of sit up on him and possibly threaten for a reversal. But what I typically do anytime he's up close to my chest, okay, so if he's below my chest, from here he's kind of sitting down, you know, I may be just coming up here and grabbing his belt, and if he tries to whizzer from here, I'm really not that concerned about it at that point. But if he's got his chest around sternum to chest level on me, instead of here, again, what I'm really looking to do is to corkscrew that up, shot put motion, right? So now my palm is towards the ceiling, okay? And you notice what happens to my elbow when I do that. Here, I kind of lock that in. Now whizzer, okay? Okay. I've opened my legs, and now from here I've got a lot of options. So even if his whizzer is strong enough that I can't start to build a base from here, what you will notice is that by stopping him from improving his overhook pressure on my shoulder, I can always move myself. I can always go down. So from here, a lot of times what I will do is check him here, okay? I'm not gonna be able to do more with my arm at this point because John's got that pretty well locked in, but at least I've got him stopped. And now from here, I'm gonna use this free leg to move myself down. And once I've scooted down lower from here, okay, now I have the option to start to go low, okay? And a number of things, again, I could go back to what I showed first, kind of building a base in there, grabbing his ankle or grabbing the back of his belt, okay, where it's kind of too low for a good whizzer. Or the other thing from here is, this is where I start to feed old school type of tactics, right? I start looking for reversals, start going for that foot. So basically what I'm looking at is changing the angle of the underhook to take away the whizzer pressure being debilitating. And once I've kind of locked that in, then I move myself down low to be able to access the legs and the hips, okay, instead of it being an upper body battle. So that's kind of stage one. Next thing, for counters, okay, come in here. There's always this classic one, and I'll show you some of the trouble that people have with it, some of the errors. So the classic one from here, you see John's got a nice whizzer, is that I will rotate my hand in here and I'll just grab and I lock my elbow down, okay? And now there's a roll to the other side. And as you know, everybody probably knows, from here, it's going to be very difficult for me to pull John across my body because he's aware of his base and he's set. So what I'll typically do from here is I let my underhook go, I come in here and I grab his hand or wrist wherever I can get it. Most important though is my grip, it's locking down with my elbow. And then what I'll do to sort of set this up is I'm going to start to shrimp and move away from him. And as he follows me, okay, then I take everything and I turn it into a roll. And now from here, okay, I can start to pass half guard. The trouble with, actually, let me show that the other side. Here, grab. Okay. So the trouble that people tend to have in there sometimes, and it's very subtle, is number one, they don't move away enough and they don't bait the partner in. So they sort of like do one scoot and then they try and pull him again. That's a problem, okay? If John has good base and he's not just super overcommitting, it's going to be very difficult for me to just roll him over. The other thing is what my head is doing, because as I do this technique, it's very subtle, but I want to make sure that I'm not trying to go here. Watch where my head is. Okay, so yes, I'm moving underneath him rather than trying to pull him across, but I really haven't opened up a space there. I haven't created enough of an angle. So if you see me do it slow, you'll notice that right as John follows and I underhook here, look at where my head goes. It goes underneath him. And now all of a sudden that roll becomes very easy. So I'm not only shrimping my hips underneath his hips to move him into that empty space, I'm also rotating my head basically in between where his legs are, okay? That will make a huge difference from there. Next one was the near side underhook, okay? And for those of you who aren't familiar with this, that are always kind of thinking about the battle is on the far side, if John gets a near side underhook, this can be pretty tough too. He can now move his head, okay, over here, stack up, and he can cut across with his knee and still have his underhook on that side, okay? It's a pretty tough pass. Even worse if he gets double underhooks, okay? So what I'm going to do from here, okay, again, go ahead. Okay. What I'm going to do from here is, again, I don't really treat it that much different in the beginning if I can keep this arm policed, right? So all I'm going to do is try and free up a little space. The problem is if John's real tight, okay, and he's starting to stack and everything, then from here I may have a little bit of trouble with a power bridge because he's going to use a power bridge that moment where I'm not policing his leg as well to slide his knee through. Good. Now he's just passed, okay? So from here instead, okay, he's got the near side beat. So what I'm going to do is just that little popcorn bridge, okay? So start your motion, okay? Now from here, okay, my underhook is back in, and now I have the opportunity from here, depending on what he does, okay, if his knee's out like this, okay, just gotta rotate a little bit. This way, just hop around. Okay. His knee's out like this, and I'm just gonna pull guard. If he hunkers down in here, okay, then from here, okay, look at what's happened. He's got a strong underhook. I've recovered my underhook on the other side. So now look, okay, from here, right, see that block? So he's in here like this, I check, I've locked down his own arm, and now I just check his knee as I go back to the shot put on this underhook. Okay, so from here, turn, look, big bridge, go right over. Okay, now I'm on top. Okay, if for some reason he has an underhook and this arm is out, and now he potentially has the underhook on both sides, from here what I really need to do, okay, again, I'm going to lock this one down, and I'm going to take this frame from here before he improves his position, starts to slide that knee out. I'm going to go here. Okay? So, one, okay, once I get his head offline, I bring this back in. Okay, I'm not trying to lead with my hand and shoot that into the underhook. Okay? John starts to climb up my body, frame, bring that back in, okay? Now I can either pop that through, perhaps get my knee in and create space, so on and so forth, right? But I really want to make sure he hasn't completely pulled himself in on both shoulders with both underhooks, because then it starts to get more and more complex to stop. Okay. So hopefully that answers some questions on that piece. Arthur, anything pop up for questions? No? Okay, cool. So I'll go right into injury prevention. And in terms of, one of the guys on there had asked about sort of 80-20 rule for strategy. And I'm going to be coming out with some more stuff on that. If you've been a subscriber for a while, you've heard me address kind of strategy, training methodology for 40 plus. But I actually shot a workshop here not too long ago over the course of a couple classes where I sort of walked through a training methodology that honestly is no difference whether you've been a white belt for 3 weeks or you were a 5th degree black belt or something, right? It's basically what you need to do. So I'll be addressing that. But first, for the purposes of today, for the injury questions, a lot of injury prevention is going to be your approach. Okay, John and I were just talking right before we went live about so much of it is training to be efficient, shelving your attributes, being willing to concede positions or tap earlier. Again, it's a question of putting long-term deposits into the equity account of your jiu-jitsu learning process, as opposed to thinking that any particular battle that's going on today means anything in an ultimate sense, right? Be willing to to win or learn, as my friend Coach Sean Kavanaugh says, and that's every single day on the mat, right? So yes, sometimes we test ourselves. What we don't want to do is test ourselves at the expense of our bodies, okay? The best part about jiu-jitsu, any goals that you have for what you want to do at this particular point in your life will ultimately be superseded by the greatest goal, which is to continue to do it, all right? So that being said, let's look at some specific areas. So let's see, first one was, let me just check real quick. Right. One of the most common ones people talk about are the rib injuries. So let's go over an underpass. Let me explain the mechanism here. It's all different variations of an underpass, but the mechanism of a lot of rib injuries, where you might sublux a rib slightly, not completely dislocate it, but slightly displace it. Not so much that it would show up on an x-ray, but it's just going to be like the rib head will be popping out, causing a lot of inflammation in the soft tissue around it and kind of pulling the musculature. And also very common there, if it's bad, is you wind up tearing intercostal muscles up here, and that's where you feel like you can't breathe. Somebody's stabbing you for 6 weeks and you have to just rest and not do anything. So those injuries suck. They're no fun. And once you've had them, they can predispose you to more. So from here, where that happens are in certain situations, and in jiu-jitsu I think this is the most common one, where my hips are stacked towards my knees toward my head, and at the same time I'm twisted. So what happens is John's stacking me, but he's not really twisting me. I hurt myself by virtue of twisting me. Okay, so as he starts to come around, this is where people will fight. Okay, right to the end, keep coming, fight. Boom! All of a sudden, you let out a yelp. You feel that horrible popping, tearing feeling in here, and the next thing you know, you're done for 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so the first thing comes back to what I just said. If I know I'm going to lose that position, I concede it, and I'm already starting to think about retracting my arms and bringing them in so I'm ready to receive my opponent in the next best possible defensive position, and then I just start to work from there. Okay, I will not hold on and fight when I'm stacked and rotated at the same time. Okay, it's just not good jiu-jitsu, and it's certainly not good for your health. But as a counter, okay, what I want you guys, let's just spin around a little bit. As a counter, what I want to have you guys think of is this, okay? John can either drive and lead with his shoulder as he comes around my leg, or if I'm really, like, say, pushing up here, right, he can stack me enough so that my torso's compromised, and then he'll kind of lead with his hip, and he'll come around, right? So what I want to do is basically block off those two pieces so he can never complete the seal of his hip to my hip. So what I'm going to do is just put my hand about where it's belted. It's no-gi. Okay, I'll just sort of maybe like do a little shuffleboard check right here on his hip. And the other one is going to go, okay, right up here. You guys see it? And sometimes with no-gi, I'll put this here or here, okay? But what I want to do is hit those two spots. If there's cloth there, I'll go ahead and take advantage of it and grab it. Now, just look at the extension here first that I'll get versus his compression. So go ahead and finish that. Good. So John's really trying to extend. I just make straight levers. Okay, notice even my wrist is straight. I'm not doing this. Okay, that's why I'll kind of do this type of motion, not put my palm on him. Okay, so I have the extra length of the back of my hands and less likely for my wrist to bend. So from here, John's really trying to come in. Good. So that's the part that always buys me a little bit of space. Okay, go back again. The other thing I need to do is instead of twisting too much, I'm just going to put this foot out on the mat from here. And now notice that I'm not turning my shoulders really more than my hips, so I'm never going to totally be compressed and rotated at the same time. So as John starts to come around, okay, I'm just framing him off until I can turn my hips towards him and I get my knee back in. Okay? Once I have this, I can start to recover in a number of different ways. Okay? That's kind of a standard throw your legs in, and now I come back, get grips, what have you. Okay, one more time. He's in, so as early as possible, I have 1, 2, 3 points of contact, and I don't twist, I just keep this, and you'll notice I always have a little bit of space in there to be able to play. Okay? So, rib injuries. Second one we'll go into, we have bicep slicer. Oh, before bicep slicer, crossface. This was a big problem for me for a long time. So, I talk about this in detail on the Pillows Escapes course, but if you get someone with a gnarly top game as John has, and this crossface can really cook you. I mean, look at what is happening as he drops his shoulder in here to my cervical spine, okay? It can be a problem to have this go on over and over and over again, day in and day out, right? After a while, I mean, it's technical, but after a while it starts to add up, okay? Because I'm really rotated. And what happens is you're not only rotated, but again, you do the damage because you're also fighting into it, okay? So from here, simple way to think about this, just get my back in. See, John's got a big crossface. From here, what I'm going to do is I'll bridge away from him, and then I'm going to roll to my near side shoulder while I walk my body up all in one fell swoop, okay? So that's what my body's going to do. So let me show that part first. Okay? So you'll notice that I'm coming towards the camera a little bit, right? So bridge away, and then walk up. Now what my hand is doing, let's just scoot down. What my hand is doing is as I do that, I'm coming up here, putting my fingers right in the crook of John's elbow, and immediately burying my elbow again so he can't kill my arm. He can't occupy this space. So I'm walking up, which means he has to follow me. In that motion, I grab, and I bring my elbow in, doing a little oblique crunch, okay? So nice, strong crossface, good. Here, okay? Now crossface again, really hard. Really hard. Good. Yep. Right now, I can not only see daylight, not going to pass out, but I actually am, for jiu-jitsu purposes, relatively comfortable in there, okay? And again, fingers in the crook, little oblique crunch. And you'll notice that by doing that, you can take off a lot of the steam of a crossface without compromising your elbow. Okay, so the way that looks again is always keeping my arm here, my hand's checking the hip. So bridge, pull that in, okay? And a lot of times from there, that's where I'll look to get my underhook in at the same time as well, if it's all loaded up and ready to go, okay? Hopefully that answers that question. And the other thing, let me just say too, is just preventatively, not to give up the crossface if you can help it anyway. So let's say John's just in the process of passing. He's beat my legs, beat my hips. He's now moving to upper body. Okay, go. So just doing this, okay? Now, he may beat my hand here at some point, but just by grabbing, see, notice I'm not putting my hand on the bicep and trying to beat it. I'm actually putting my forearm against his bicep and I'm cupping his tricep and then pulling it in. Just doing this a lot of times will buy me the time I need. So my head is completely comfortable right now. John's fighting this battle. I'm not flexing my arm, I'm not all rigid, I'm just tracking him. So as he's going to fight that in, good, I'm just doing this. And then from here, good, now I can come maybe fight that underhook in and initiate my escape, okay? So that's where we're doing it even earlier. Next one, bicep slicer. I've seen this one come up a couple times in the group. And my instructor actually had a pretty bad bicep tear years ago. One went on from, it was a purple belt or brown belt that put it on, and it went on really fast. The guy didn't even realize kind of what the technique did, but it will basically shear your bicep. And the muscle submissions, like a bicep slicer, a calf slicer, part of the problem with those fall into the category of techniques where you will be injured before you feel enough pain to tap. So let's just come in here for a sec, John. Take over here. I want to have you guys look at this. So go ahead and put the like the lasso on there. Just put that on. So I know that if I pass to the near side from here, this is where John's going to feed it. Go ahead and figure 4 your leg. Yep. And now he's got this, and now what you're going to do is, okay, you're going to reach up, grab here, then grab here, and now it's his shin bone as he raises his hips, okay, and I'm kind of screwed once that's locked in there, right? Because I keep thinking I'm going to come in there, I'm going to pull it out. No, the bend of my arm is keeping it from being pulled out. Once he's grabbed it, there's no way for me to pull it out, and then the more that I fight in here, the more chance I'm going to be injured, okay? And that is a long injury to recover from. So what I want you guys to think about from here is, first of all, know that that's available to him along with a bunch of sweeps if I go to the strong side, right? Meaning his strong side. If he's got this in here and I'm just sort of going like this, yeah. You know, there's ways for me to crush that, but it is what he's looking for. And a lot of times from here, guys who want to do this as a submission will not wait for you to even go to that side. They'll actively be rotating underneath you to feed it. So the idea here is this. Okay, John figure fours, and I know to finish it, he's got to now bring his hands to my arm. Okay, good. And the idea here is this. I have an arm bar counter on him when his arm is straight. So go ahead, grab that. Okay, I've got an arm bar counter. What I need to think about in here is basically where my body is, where my weight distribution is, and what part of my body I'm going to use. Okay, so first example, okay, I'm in here like this. Okay, as John shoots that up, I pop my knee in there. Okay, see it? So he's focused on the lock, I pop my knee in that space, and then from here, okay, I put the lock on. Okay, so that's a knee insert into that space. That's one counter. Okay, another counter is, okay, let's just go back one step. Okay, so now you're feeding it. Good. Boom. Okay, as John feeds it, I come under, and instead I'm lower, so I don't have time to pop all the way up to a knee ride and put my knee in. So instead I shoot this here. Okay, so you guys see it from here. Okay, now I'm going to sit out towards his head. And now I'm just going to shift my weight over and throw my leg over. Okay. Now from there, I just lean back a little bit because he's stuck his own wrist in that spot, right? So in either case, I'm relying on his own grip to trap his arm and let me counter with an arm bar. Caveat there though, you have to do it with timing, okay? Because I can't hang out and do that once he's already got both hands on the back of my tricep and he's extending his hips. I have to do it as he's feeding his hands. Okay. So prevention is worth a lot from there. Let's see. A couple more. All right. Now for the Joint lock injuries. Again, let go earlier, tap earlier if you need to. One of the great things that I'd heard before about tapping, in terms of a little perspective shift for your pride, your ego, is props to your opponent, right? Like I'm basically clapping, saying like, you got it. The problem is if you haven't got a culture where that's okay, or you've got a culture where, you know, every time somebody taps, they've got to start making a bunch of excuses about, well, you know, I haven't trained a lot this week, or I've been sick and stuff. It's like, you know, okay, you know, fine, but like, that's more something, you know, a little bit ago I had a respiratory issue, and, you know, I just, like, I might have been with John, I was going with somebody, and I just finally couldn't breathe, okay, I just still had that virus cooking in my chest, even though I wasn't symptomatic anymore. It just wouldn't quite go away, and I had that, you know, you just can't get enough oxygen. So I just cardio tapped, and I said, yeah, man, I'm sick, I gotta head out. But it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna wait for you to do something to me, and then I'm going like hell trying to beat you, and then all of a sudden I say, oh, well, you know, it's because I was sick. You see the difference? Like, just be honest. And if you have a good culture and you're looking long-term, not short-term, you can tap earlier, and then you'll save your joints. Okay, so coming back to that. But from here, let's look at Kimuras. So first I'll do sort of a cross-body Kimura. Okay. And a lot of times people here wait until the last second. Now John's gonna, either put it on, tap, or he might shift his weight and put his leg over my head. Okay, now really I'm about to tap, okay? And then people wait too long, they pop their shoulder, okay? So from here, go ahead and get the grip again. First thing, I messed up because he was able to isolate my arm and get it all the way away from my body. But what I would like to do here is, instead of fighting with my arm, okay, I'm instead going to create a frame, and to do that I have to bring my legs to my arm, right? Here, okay? So now I buy myself a little bit of time. John goes to put it on, good. So I'm putting a lot of weight on my elbow. You can't see that, but that's what I'm doing. I'm transferring all the weight to where he wants to lift, okay? And I use this frame to support it. Now, once I've brought my legs here and I put weight on that elbow, as John's continuing to try and beat me, okay, what I'm going to do is now bring everything back using this new frame that I've created. So from here, I'm going to shift my hips and bring everything back here. And look what kind of happens to John's grip. Okay, see how it's compromised? So at the very least, okay, I should be able from here to pull that arm back into a better position, okay? Sometimes what will even happen is he'll sort of get counter Kimura'd himself, and he'll have to pull his arm out, right? But what I'm looking to do is be able to move mine back. So one more time from this side. Okay, separates that. Boom. Okay, weight on my elbow. Okay, immediately bring this over, make a connection. And now I don't come back with my legs and leave my arm behind. Once I make this connection, I snoop back into him. And now from here, bring that back in. North-South Kimura, same thing. Okay. What I'm really trying to do here, guys, is make sure John doesn't kill this arm. Okay, so shin pin, kill it, right, or scoop it. Okay, so what I'm really trying to do from here, right, I may do this just briefly, okay, is that I'm trying to keep this arm free as long as possible. And again, there are defenses earlier than this, but I'm sort of going to where you'll get injured, which is right at the end. Okay, so now from here, I can do this momentarily if I have a gi, what have you, but I'm kind of getting my shoulder up in the air. Hold on just for a second, and I'm fighting so he doesn't kill this arm. And then from here, really what I'm looking to do, again, it's not an arm battle, it's an angle battle. So if he doesn't kill my arm, okay, I can move my body from here by posting, and now as he's going to try and attack it, I can bring my elbow back down. Okay. Sometimes what you'll find is, go ahead and grab that again, is once I move my head, when I get out here, I have counter locks I might be able to do, but to me that's secondary, that's frosting on the cake, right? The main thing I want to be able to do, okay, if he's got this, I'm going to kind of bring my elbow all the way up so I'm on my side. I'm going to fight, okay, as you try and kill my arm. Okay? I'm going to fight, keep my head out, and then from there, I move my head all the way out as early as possible. Okay, north-south. And I think we had one more. Arm lock. Okay. Let's go from here. Obviously, there's also arm locks from guard, so that the main thing from here, again, is said many times. The real shitty jiu-jitsu elbows are killing me. I need to do more curls, right? Doesn't make sense. So what I need to understand is when John's got, say, both legs over from here, I'm showing this one instead of one leg over because this is much more difficult to deal with, okay? He's got this. Now, what is he trying to do? He's trying to control my head, isolate my body so I can't move. He's got my arm isolated, so he's going to curl in here. Good. And now from here, he's trying to do what? Use his hips to extend my arm back. And then he knows I might try and weasel out with an angle, so he's going to control my thumb, make sure it's pointed towards the ceiling, and now there's the lever. So you'll notice, okay, if you really curl and pinch your knees together, see what? Just let my arm go for a second, okay? See where my arm is? Okay, don't let it go slack. Pinch it up. It's like a slot machine just by his tightness. His arms are secondary to all that process, right? So knowing that, like that he's trying to keep my shoulder kind of flat and bring that back, what I'm going to try and do here, on this little S grip, I'm going to actually turn away from it a little bit and move my shoulder in that position. So now cinch that up. Okay. Now you notice my arm is a little bit further away from where he needs to bring it. And even if, go ahead and bring it back, okay, I have a little bit more time here than right here where I'm going to tap right now. Okay. Go ahead, extend it. Extend it. Now I'm going to tap. See that extra time? That buys me a little bit. Okay, so I come in here like this. Okay, now tighten everything up. All I'm going to do is this little sliding scale here. So I don't go from here to here. I'm sliding so I have constant connection, sliding into here, okay? And now look at where my hand goes. So I make this little frame in here like this, okay? And this is a nice little tip that I got from Henry Eakins is when you're trying to make this little frame here, there's no place that you can go when he's tight except for the back of the knee, okay? That's sort of the secret to this is once you have this, slide it and then pop that right in that sweet spot because it's always available to you if he has a meaningful arm lock position, okay? Now from here, okay, I'm not going to try and just pendulum and all that stuff from here. I'm just going to pass this over, okay? So watch. Okay, so bring that back in. Extend my arm. Okay, so I got a little time. It's kind of tough with my bicep, but I bought myself enough time to do this, okay? Pop that over. And the moment that I just shift everything up so his knee comes off my head, I'm here, okay? And once I'm here, try and extend my arm. Okay, go ahead. Arm lock it. Nope, not going to happen, okay? The only thing I want to worry about is like he doesn't tuck that underneath his arm and all that stuff. Okay, I'm being a little lazy now. I'm just showing that right from here that lock is no longer extended. And now what is he going to do from here? Okay, it's going to be a race for the mount. Okay, once he knows the arm lock isn't there. So from here as he goes to mount, I want to control the thing that's going to put him in mount, which is that knee. Okay, go ahead and do mount. That knee is going to come over and get heavy. So as soon as I have this, I put my hand here. Okay, go ahead. Okay, I just make a frame. Notice I'm not trying to push John over. I'm just trying to check it. Do one more time. Okay, shoulder up. Slide. Pass this in. Now I'm safe. Immediately my hand goes here. And I'm coming up out of dodge. Right. Cool. Do we have any questions? We're good? Okay, guys. We could do more of these, so if you have more questions to follow up, that's cool. Hopefully those areas helped you out a little bit, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.